The Whale is a 2022 American psychological drama film directed by Darren Aronofsky and written by Samuel D. Hunter, based on his 2012 play of the same name. The film stars Brendon Fraser, Sadie Sink, Hong Chow, Ty Simpkins, and Samantha Morton. The plot follows a reclusive, morbidly obese English teacher who tries to restore his relationship with his teenage daughter. Thanks for stopping by the Serge T channel. I am Serge T. Brendon Fraser. Am I surprised that he won all these accolades, topped off by his recent victory at the Oscars by winning Best Acting Oscar, Best Actor? I always thought that he was a Best Actor. I always thought that he had the potential to be this kind of an actor. People tend to forget because they watch and they remember him from films like Encino Man, George of the Jungle, his franchise, which is The Mummy. It all relied on his good looks or relied on his, abilities to carry an action film, do funny, weird comedies. But I think that people, their eyes opened and they really noticed that he could act when he was in the film School Ties. And then from that moment on, people should have said this guy has potential. But like I said, he did films that tended to not really, follow up on that ability. I'm not saying that he's had some roles that he didn't show it, but we tend to, like I said, remember his films of the past and really not focusing on his acting ability. I mean, even in like the films that I mentioned, you saw a quality in him. You saw a star quality. You saw that this guy, and that's the reason why he was being placed in a lot of these different types of movies and stuff like that. He was gone for a bit, and then we see him in Doom Patrol, that DC TV series, and other things that he started coming back around. I mean, he's a guy who is going through a lot of pain right now. He's going through a lot of health issues, but you can tell, especially after his Oscar acceptance speech, he was very passionate, very happy. It was such a natural reaction. It wasn't like how some of these people go up there to accept their, best actor, best acting actress, supporting actress, whatever Oscar. They seem to have a air of arrogance on them, like they knew they were going to win. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but with him, it was just such a natural reaction, he was so happy, especially after all that he's gone through. And for him to make a comeback like this, it's amazing. It's truly inspiring. The movie Encino Man, speaking of that, his co-star there, who was Ke Huy Quan, he had a banner year for himself as well. But what a comeback. After 20 years, he comes back to acting. And the first film he acts in, he's getting all these awards. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Lee Curtis, they won Oscars as well. Co-star there, Stephanie Shu, I think that's her name, but she's the one that played Michelle Yeoh's daughter. And the directors, the Daniels got Best Director, Oscars. It's really probably one of the best Oscars I've seen. I didn't watch the whole thing because I really don't believe in these award shows. I don't like the politics that at times goes behind these, and the choice of the host that they have at times. I didn't mind Chris Rock. I don't mind others, but I wasn't gonna watch it. But the acceptance speeches, Brendon Fraser's and Ke Huy Quan and Michelle Yeoh and all that, Jamie Lee Curtis, I watched those and very happy for him. And I'm very happy for Brendon Fraser. He deserves all of the fame, all of the accolades, all of the critical acclaim, and all that, because this film was really, really such an inspiring, moving, very, very well written, well acted. Like I said, Brendon Fraser definitely deserved a nomination. Hong Chow. I saw her name and I did not realize that she was in this film. And after seeing her performance, she as Liz, she did very well as well. I could even seen Sadie Sink being nominated. Did a very good job. The young lady did. Samantha Morton, who played probably one of my favorite villains from Walking Dead. She played Alpha. And when I see her acting here, I see some of the characteristics. Not that she's the same psychopathic cult leader type killer in Walking Dead, but she had that delivery. And when she would get upset at, what I call it, Brendon Fraser's character, I saw it, like that passion, like that, and an amazing performance as well. And I watched this thing, and it's like the people that I mentioned in the intro, they pretty much were the main cast members. Of course, you saw the one gentleman that played, Dan the delivery guy. We see him only once, but we hear his voice throughout the movie. He delivers pizza and food to, to Charlie, played by Brendon Fraser. And really was really one of those things where at the end, when he finally got a chance to look at Charlie, when Charlie was near the end of his life, and he has that response, like he's just so shocked, and he's just, I don't know about disgust, but he was very, very taken aback when he finally saw what Charlie looked like, and he just ran off, And, there's a moment too when he finally reveals himself. He knows he's at the end of his life. He doesn't care anymore. And he really doesn't care about what these students, because he's an English teacher who teaches, on the internet. And for the whole time, up until that end, he would have his camera blocked off, or he just wouldn't use his camera. And he would always he told them in the beginning, oh, my camera's not working again, so let's just, continue with the lesson. And then at the end, where, he finally reveals himself after because he tells these people, his students, don't forget about the subject, forget about that essay, just write what you feel, And of course, the school board or whoever it is that's in charge of that online, like they fire him, and he ends up they're going to have another teacher, but he decides to talk to him one more time, and he talks about some of the honesty in these students are revealing things about themselves, and some saying that they're not going to stop telling me that I'm going to be better than I am, and all these other things. If someone their parents wants to be one thing, she wants to be another, all that. And then the whole thing of his reveal, was very eye-opening. One girl was laughing. Just straight out laughing, not like a chuckle. She's like, oh my God, look at him. What this, like that, starts laughing. And then there were some that gasped. Because of course they're just shocked. They didn't know that sometimes a voice doesn't really like reveal the person, in the sense that you can't really attach that voice to that person. And then there were some that looked sympathetic, because he showed his whole self. He went from his face all the way down to show them, this is what I am. And in that brutal honesty, you see how they reacted. Now, there are reports that I saw, looking up at the critical reviews and all that stuff, and also the reactions, and there's actual controversy surrounding this film. People are saying that they criticize it for its portrayal of an overweight person. I didn't see it. What did you people see? I saw a sympathetic character. I saw someone who was struggling with what morbidly obese people struggle with. They struggle with pain. They struggle with joint issue. They struggle with diabetes or high blood pressure, hypertension. He had cardiac failure in the beginning of the thing, and Liz is very adamant. Go to the doctor. He doesn't want to. He claims he doesn't have money. We find out that he does actually have money, that he's just been putting away and he tries to send money to his former wife. His daughter comes into the picture, and she is offered, "I'll give you all the money." She wants him to take care of her paper, her essay, because that's the only thing that's keeping her from graduating. It's almost a thing that she's kind of holds over his head. You help me, like that. And all she's really interested in is money. You think she's a conniving, scheming little girl, a girl that just doesn't care about her dad. But then it's like she cares about that Thomas guy, the born again Christian, new life cult that he's following. And then you find out later on that he really isn't a part of that because he stole the money from, from the church. And then you find out that she actually got him reconnected with his parents. His parents tell him it's okay, come on home. He was running from him. He was running away from him, And, it just goes to show that she has a good nature in her heart. Like, she's doing all the things she's doing because, like Liz said, she's a teenager. What do you expect? She said that she was a teenager and she acted a certain way. And she didn't want to say anything because, just leave it at that, Let's leave it at that, I was a pretty bad kid, But let's go back to him in the controversy. This movie did not put him in any kind of an embarrassing light. They didn't make fun of him. They showed what people of his, what he goes through, people of his condition go through. That's not making fun. It kind of makes me think about when you say something bad about a person of race, you're labeled a racist. That's happened to me. Saying things about certain people, I'm not going to get into it, but I said, oh, that person's a bad president, or that guy's a bad politician or whatever, or a bad actor or whatever. And people will go, oh, you're racist. And I go, why am I racist? I think you're racist because you brought up the issue. I never talked about a person's race. I'm just saying a person is a bad, at their job. Being a certain race or a certain whatever doesn't give you an excuse to do a bad job and then you get a pass. That's not how shit should go. And in here, it's not like, I got an example, Shallow Hal. Now that right there can be, people can look at that and go, that's making fun of a overweight person. Look at Gwyneth Paltrow playing an overweight person. Looked cartoonish. It didn't even look real. The makeup here is crazy good. It's so accurate. It makes him look like Brendon Fraser gained weight. It didn't look like he was wearing a fat suit. Because some of those fat suits they make these guys wear, I mean, I could even go with Nutty Professor, even though Nutty Professor is one of the greatest comedies, one of Eddie Murphy's greatest films, but the fat suits and all that stuff, it kind of made him look, it kind of pass, but at the same time you're like, nah, that's just Eddie in a fat suit. I couldn't say that about Brendon Fraser. I'm honestly thinking that you could look at him and go, oh, Brendon Fraser gained weight for the role. I haven't looked that up yet. Maybe he did. I don't know. You know what I mean? But you can tell. I mean, the makeup people and the hair and makeup people won an Oscar. They won an Oscar too. So congratulations to them as well. They won it and they deserve it. It was great. Great work. Great thing. When he didn't have his shirt on, and I'm going, that looks natural. That looks real. Like he's actually that big. It didn't look fake. Shallow Hal is a movie that should be complained about by people. If you want to criticize a film that's making fun of fat people, there you go. But I'm not saying it did, but at the same time, you could look at that movie and say because it was a comedy, it made fun of fat people and all that stuff. This one didn't. So if people are trying to do that, I think they're just looking for a reason to call out a film and go, oh, this and that, because you know how we live in the times we live in nowadays. People are so sensitive. Cancel culture, social justice warriors, all this stuff. Where they can't just watch a movie for what it is and accept it. And stop trying to come at it at an angle where I'm looking for a reason to be offended. That's not the thing you have to do, especially with this film. The Whale, it pretty much is in reference to Moby Dick. It's a poem or an essay or something, a part of that book that when he's feeling like, oh my God, his heart's going to explode, or feels like he's going to die, he's losing his breath or whatever, he has to read that part from that book, and it calms him down. But people will look at that and think the whale, oh, they're calling him a whale. I'm sure that's what a lot of people were thinking, but that's not it. This movie is far above any of this BS when it comes to the agendas and all the social justice warriors and all the cancel culture and all this stuff. People being offended by the slightest thing. This movie is above that. It shouldn't even be in the picture, in the discussion. Because then when you do that, the people are going to go, well, I don't need to watch that movie because it makes fun of fat people. But it doesn't. It shows the true nature of this condition that people are morbidly obese. In this case, he gives up on life because his partner, his lover, the person that he is so in love with, ends up dying, and then we find out that that's Liz's brother, and Liz had to identify the body because Charlie couldn't. He's not family. You see that connection, and then the connection that she has with Thomas is because Thomas is from New Life, and that's where her brother, the partner of Charlie, was a part of. And when they didn't accept him, and father whatever didn't accept him because he was gay, he stopped eating. He stopped doing all these things that you need to do to live, and he ends up being found, body bloated on a river somewhere. It's like truly just an amazing film that kind of goes into that, and it really just opens up the book on this type of a thing. And it's not even closed. It's like, here it is out in the open, and it's going to be raw and in your face, and it's not going to be apologetic or sympathetic, or in the sense that they're not going to sugarcoat anything. It's all out there. The raw emotion from everyone in here, from Charlie to Liz to Ellie, his daughter, Mary, the played by Samantha Morton, who did an amazing job, and I love her as an actress. From her stuff, from earlier stuff to her performance as Alpha in The Walking Dead. I saw her and I'm going, whoa, awesome. I'm like, yes, she's in this movie. I saw her name, but it didn't immediately come into my head. And then when I see her walk in, I go, how can I not remember Samantha Morton? How can I not listen to hear that name and go, oh, she played Alpha. Oh, she's in here, great. She's in here for a little bit, but it's a very pivotal moment in this movie because she is kind of going back over what happened between them, and the fact that he left her for his partner, for a guy, and she said that she had to tell people that my husband left me for another man, and how he left them, and Ellie held a grudge since the age of 8 until I believe she's 16 or 17 in this because she's in her senior year. So she has all that pain in her and wondering why her dad abandoned them, when yet that was the issue between her parents. They didn't get along anymore. The mom didn't want him to have anything to do with Ellie because she felt like Ellie. Here's the thing. She thought that Ellie was going to hurt Charlie because she's a bad kid. She acts out. She does all this stuff on social media. She'd be putting her dad's picture there and saying that, just hurtful things about her dad. If he caught on fire, that it would, you know what I mean? Like it would burn for a long time or something. It was just very, very hurtful, but she's acting out. She's a teenager, and I can understand why, But that's the thing I had to say about this film. It's like I watch it, and it's really, really a beautifully made film, and it's very, very. It really does a service to people like Charlie. Shows what happens, what they go through. It's not something that they're trying to make fun of those type of people, morbidly obese. It shows them and what they go through, the pain they have to go through. Them, it's like stuff we take for granted. He can't even get up without the help of a walker. You see him when he goes to his bed. He has a thing that's kind of like a pull thing, but it's like something that he can hold when he lays down on his bed. There's that moment when she is about to go out the door, when she's leaving because they're arguing a lot, She tells him, "You walk to me." No, 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 no. She takes the walker and puts it to the side. Walk to me. And he tries, and then he puts his hand on his little desk there, and it falls, it breaks. But then at the end, when you know that he is pretty much at death's door, he knows he's about to go. Liz hugs him, gives him a kiss on the cheek or on the forehead, and then she just tells him, "I'll wait for you downstairs." We all know what that means, because he's gonna pass on, and then the EMTs or whatever are gonna bring his body down there. It's almost like she's resigned to it. He's resigned to it. Ellie doesn't see that yet, but then she kind of realizes the very very the seriousness of this situation. He gives her a poem that she wrote when she was 8, and she goes to turn that in. She didn't know, and she failed. And then when he tells her to read it, and then that's when she realizes it's that poem, and he believes in her. He believes that she's going to be a great writer, that she's a smart girl, incredible, amazing, beautiful. He's proud of his daughter. And in this scene, the last scene, she stands there, she turns around, and without even her coaxing, he just gets up and he attempts to get up on his feet, and then he's like walking towards her. And then as soon as he gets right up to her, you see his feet elevate. And then all of a sudden you see this bright light, and it flashes back to a scene where he was on the beach and his daughter was like right there playing in the sand. That's when she was a little girl. And all of a sudden that was it. Now I'm thinking, was the scene there, did he already die? And that his probably that was his spirit that got up and walked towards her, and then that was it. And then he went up to heaven. He's going to be reunited with Alan. That's probably the great thing about it too. The love of his life, and he lost him in a horrible way. No one should wish that kind of a death on anybody. You just give up on life. You stop eating. You stop taking care of yourself, and then that's it. And that's what happened to him too. He gave up on life, and he pretty much just wanted to just sit around, not do anything. He was a little bit overweight when he was with Alan. Alan didn't care. He said Alan didn't. He looked at him and fell in love with him. He didn't care what he looked like. So I can understand that. I can understand that you lose somebody and it affects you. It's happened to me in my life too, where sometimes you give up. But despite the fact that he had people around him, Liz, who loved her, and so even that guy Dan, who would deliver his food, they got to be real close, in the sense that they got to the point where now he goes, "Oh, my name is Dan. Since I've been coming here for a long time," he introduced himself, and Charlie introduced himself. Except for that last part when he saw him and he gasped and he just turned around like, because he didn't expect him to look like that. Like I said, the voice sometimes doesn't match up to what a person looks like. How many times have we seen of a voiceover actor, and then when we see the actor, we're like, "Whoa, I didn't think he looked like that. He looks kind of different than what I was thinking." But I think I talked pretty much everything I can about this film. Everything that went down, the revelations, the things that just popped out at me. I really, really am so just amazed at the job that Darren Aronofsky did. I mean, he's done Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, which won an Oscar for Natalie Portman, and then you have Noah. It's like his first number one film ever that he's directed. You have The Wrestler. That was you saw Mickey Rourke and Marissa Tomei earn Oscar nominations. Very good career. He was nominated as well for Black Swan. So when you see his name, you're like, this is gonna be a good film. It's got to be, and you're not surprised. I mean, he does films that's very character driven at times, And this film really just was anchored by Brendon Fraser. Like I said, I can't say enough about him. He is such an amazing actor, and I hope he gets more better work that that really just it. They basically look at this performance and go, we're gonna have all these actors and all these, I mean actors, but directors and writers and studios are gonna look at Brendon Fraser and go, we have this kind of film. We want Brendon Fraser to do it because Brendon Fraser deserves to get more accolades like this and put more work like this on his resume because he deserves success. He's a guy who, to me, he comes off as somebody who's sincere, who's a very good person, who is not affected by Hollywood and not affected by the things, and it gives these guys a bloated ego and all that. You know, I'm not saying he's a perfect guy. I've heard problems that he's had and stuff like that, but you know, that goes hand in hand at times of being a part of Hollywood. You either sink or float. You know what I mean? It's kind of a dog eat dog world in that you know, in that industry. But like I said, I enjoyed this film, and I'm glad I got to see it. It came out last year, actually on my birthday, October 8th, in 2022, and I just got around to it now. A lot of things going on in my life, so at times I'm not able to. I mean, I intended on watching this film, and then just things just get in the way. You know how life is. Sometimes it happens, and maybe it was buoyed by the fact that he won the Oscar, and I'm thinking I gotta watch this movie because I wanted to watch it, but now I'm seeing all the accolades and praise on Brendon Fraser. I'm gonna check it out because he's definitely one of my favorite actors and a guy who's underrated. And he needs to be more than that. He needs to be accepted. He needs to be taken seriously because, and even in the other films that he's done, you see that quality, you see that ability to act, you see that things that he can do and do well with a character if he's given the right character. But anyway, that is my video, my recap and thoughts on The Whale, starring Brendon Fraser. Like I said, a very good film. Amazing, heartwarming, very touching. Had a few tears come out when that last scene. It was very touching. Anyway, that's my video. So for those of you who stopped by and checked it out, I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And in closing, and as always, take care.